Hello and welcome to the Waves of Virtue podcast. I'm your host, Roland Morales, here with co-host, Worshipful Master Chris Smith. Hello, Chris. How are you?
Hello, Worshipful Roland. I'm doing well. Thank you very much.
Good, very good. And we're joined today by, and I'm sorry, I should have probably figured this out before. Is it Worshipful Khadim?
No. I'm not worshipful. I am brother.
Okay.
I'm Christian Junior Warden of Billy Moss, 1152 in Denison, Texas.
All right, in Denison. Okay, well, Brother Khadim, welcome to our show. Chris has talked about you quite a bit and said we've got to have Brother Khadim on here. So we're excited to have you on.
Oh man, thank you. Brother Chris he's been so good to me.
He's a good guy. He's an inspiration to us all around here. So Brother Khadim, we understand that you're currently driving to the Grand Lodge sessions in Texas, correct?
Yes, sir. The Grand Session started as of yesterday, and I had some schooling to do, and just got off, and on my way down. Currently about having an hour and 45 minutes left of driving.
Okay. Well, I know the Oklahoma delegation is there, so hopefully you'll run into them, and we'll tell some of those grand officers that you're there, and maybe they can locate you, and we'll tell them that you were on the podcast today. And so again, safe travels to you while you're driving down there.
Thank
and
you.
So brothers everywhere, we received some sad news, some very sad news today. Oklahoma lost a jewel in Masonry. We lost past Grand Master Rick Allison. Most Worshipful Allison was Grand Master in 2017. So our thoughts and our prayers go out to the family of Most Worshipful Allison and all his acquaintances, people he was close to. He was certainly a wonderful man, and he will be dearly missed in Oklahoma, I'm sure, throughout other jurisdictions in North America. So, all right, well, we'll start out. And, just like always, we want to make sure that everybody understands that what we express on this podcast does not express the views of the Grand Lodge of Oklahoma or any other jurisdiction. And so these are solely our views, and we hope we give you a great show today. So, Brother Khadim, Junior Warden, tell us again what lodge in Denison?
Billy Moss Lodge, number 1152.
All right, yeah. I don't know that we'll ever get 4-digit lodge numbers here in Oklahoma. We have about 442 lodges, I guess, to go before we ever reach there. So I don't know. You never know. Brother, again, thank you. So, Brother Chris, Worshipful Chris has said that you're a well-traveled brother. So, kind of tell us some of the adventures that you have been on in Freemasonry.
So, with traveling, as soon as I joined Masonry, I was itching. I had this feeling. I was never someone to stay just one place. I wanted to go out and discover what's around me, especially after I was raised. They tell you, hey, you can go everywhere and be received as a brother and be treated as a brother. And I wanted to experience that myself. So that is where it all started with the travels. And I've been just traveling ever since, really. Met some wonderful guys along the way, and I'm definitely grateful for that.
All right, very good. And so,
First time we met, Khadim and I was at Oakland, that's my mother valley, the Guthrie Scottish Rite reunion a couple years ago.
Oh, okay, that's where you met. All right.
Well, very, very passive. Just said hi and shook his hand real quick. It was only later that I hit him back up on the internet.
Okay. Well, Brother Khadim, I think our reunion is scheduled for is it the 4th through the 6th, brother, or the 5th through the 7th, something like that, in the first weekend in April. So we certainly hope that we see you in Guthrie. Yeah.
I visited Guthrie after some recommendation of brothers that as soon as I joined Scottish Rite, it was highly recommended to go to Guthrie. And me and another brother, Thomas Sawyer, with whom we've started the Travelers, just decided, hey, let's go, let's do it.
Okay.
And that's why I met Brother Chris and many wonderful brothers from Oklahoma.
I was going to say, maybe you want to tell us a little bit about the Travelers group you started?
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. So it is, shout out to Brother Hayden Sugarts and Brother Thomas Sawyer, Brother Zach Taylor, Brother Ulysses Harjit, Brother Trenton Troopin. It just started as we've met together at one lodge at a degree one night. And, it was just kind of like, oh, you travel? Yes, I travel too. Well, how about we start a traveling club? Nothing official or anything. It's just something that we all enjoy traveling, and let's just do it. And that's how it started. So we would every week make program to say, okay, there's this lodge that, they have this degree going on. They have this meeting going on. How about we meet up there? Sure, let's do it. And basically, that's how we got going.
Wow, that's awesome.
A little familiar.
Yeah. And how special that is to a brother going through a degree to see somebody come out and support that and be part of that in their lives. So I'm sure that's something that brothers will never forget, that somebody took the time and cared enough to come and see them be initiated or passed or raised. So that's awesome. And so
I think that goes right into what you were talking about as far as the article you wanted to.
Yes, that does fit right into the article. So, Brother Khadim, a couple of days ago, in fact, I think maybe was it yesterday, Chris, I shared that article with you guys. Brother Khadim, I read an article yesterday that was put online by actually PBS. Put this article online, and I think Chris may have shared it with you. I don't know if you had a chance to read it, but the title of the article is "Why a Growing Number of American Men Say That They Are in a Friendship Recession." And it goes on to say that 20% of single men today say that they don't have any close friends, and more than half of all men report feeling unsatisfied with the size of their friend groups. So you guys started that travelers group. Does it extend outside of Masonry at all? Do you do anything, go anywhere that just to travel, just to get away?
No, we actually do more than just travel. We would call each other every day. We would go out, outside of Masonry and go share a drink, go to movies and stuff like that. It truly extends beyond travels.
Well, good. That's very good. Yeah. So what is this report? What does that say to you that an actual report was done? This person, Jeff Bennett, by the way, is who did the article and interviewed some people. He traveled to Arkansas and visited with some people and with some men, and they actually started groups. And they do all kinds of things, kind of like you said, backyard barbecues or anything, or sometimes meet at a bar and have a drink together. But what does that say to you, Brother Khadim, that people are recognizing that men are feeling so isolated from each other?
You know what? I was one of those people. I was one of those, and I'm still single. But prior to Masonry, yes, I was suffering of not having friends, of just being isolated. The people I grew up with, the people I went to school with, we all had different point of interest. And I think the way society is just, evolving makes it to where, people diverge from each other. And I was just in need of social interaction. And I think that's where Masonry came into play in offering me these, lifelong relationships that I was able to create, from having the same point of interest as some other guys. We took the same obligations, and today we have a Travelers Club and everything. I think it's just how the world is set up nowadays. To me, is why we have this phenomenon going on.
I agree with that.
Yes, I mean, I think some would argue that with today's technology, that people are quote unquote more connected than ever. But um, it's a paradox that I think that with technology, people think that they are more connected than they ever have been, but yet on the other side of the coin, they feel more isolated than we have ever felt in the past. So.
I like my keyword that I've been hitting on, that authenticity. You may have a lot of friends, but how many do you have an authentic relationship with that you actually can that you don't fool yourself? You know that's a good friend that I have.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And
Go ahead.
if I may add, is just to say, I'll go with the generation. I'm a millennial, and that's true. It's like nowadays, millennials are just looking for instant gratification. So with the social media, they're just looking for this virtual relationship that's like, hey, I have so many followers, I'm popular, I'm this and that. But in real life, it's like people are not necessarily your friends as you think they are. They're here for what you can provide to them, and that is all.
Yeah. I think when I was preparing for today's episode, I got to looking at some information, and there's a TED talk about the decline of service organizations. And the numbers the numbers are out there, and there's probably been anywhere from a 50 to maybe 70% decline in volunteerism, and that's not just in masonry, but throughout the Rotary Club, the Kiwanis Club, whatever the case may be. And so one of the things that this TED talk talked about was what was life like 30 years ago. So 30 years ago, I'm gonna age myself a little bit. 30 years ago, Chris, you were probably about 5, but I was 28 years old, and for the most part, telephones were still on the wall or on your tabletop. Computers were just now emerging, and look where we are now. And like you said, Brother Khadim, you may have thousands of followers or whatever, but it doesn't necessarily mean you have, like what Brother Chris said, authentic friends. But if we think about it, couldn't have imagined how today's world would have been 30 years ago. And a child born today will be 30 years old in the year 2053. And who knows what the world is going to look like 30 years from now. But the one thing I don't think is going to change is that need for authentic, like you said, Worshipful Chris, authentic connections. And Brother Khadim, like you and the Travelers Group have. That's amazing. I would really, Brother Chris, I think we need maybe to have a larger venture and talk to all these brothers and have a big meeting and get more views. So, anything
I
to
wanted to ask Khadim on this subject. You just traveled to England and France, on a little Masonic trip. Yeah. And I'm just kind of curious, like you said, how was the actual authentic reception as a traveling brother? What was your experience? Because you don't even know these people, but yet were you able to have that kind of authentic experience?
Absolutely. So, a little bit of background is I am a native French speaking. So, to me, with that travel to France I was curious to hear the work in French, right? But extending beyond that, let me tell you what, they were so pleased. I had a red carpet treatment. The guys were like, man, you took a trip all the way from Texas to here, England or France, just to come witness Masonry. They were amazing. They're like, and I mean, there was the provincial Grand Master in attendance, and he took the example and said, guys, look, he's from Texas, but guess what? It's the same work that's going on over there. It's the same fellowship. We took the same obligations. The brotherhood is universal. They treated me as if I was one of them. I I made some more friendships there. It's of course they had questions about the differences in wordage and stuff, but it was the same as if I was going to a lodge here in Texas. It was the same, and it was wonderful.
That's beautiful. You even got to go to some festive boards and stuff like that, right?
I did. So after each meeting, they have festive boards, and man, I took some gifts, and I received some gifts. One lodge did they signed a card for me. The other one I had a signed book from the provincial grandmaster that published one about the rites of passages and such. It was an awesome experience. It was Christmas time. It was all about just wonderful time.
That's wonderful. Wonderful to hear. I came from another state too. I didn't get to travel internationally, but I had the same experience when I came here with Brother Roland and a couple other brothers when I first came here, and immediately they just rolled the red carpet out. And even though we don't know each other otherwise, through our shared experiences in Masonry, that's at least one way we can segue into these authentic relationships. I just think that's beautiful.
Yeah. And I think a lot more of us need to understand that what you said, Brother Khadim, universal brotherhood. It's universal. It that has no beginning, it has no end. It exists everywhere. Wherever you are, there's a universal brotherhood to be found in other Masons. So you mentioned earlier that about your desire, that itch that you had, that yearning you had, and you found it satisfied in Masonry. Talk a little bit about, what was your experience? Was it through the ritual? Was it just through your interactions the first time you stepped and visited a lodge? Kind of explain how Masonry filled that emptiness that you're feeling.
So to answer that question, I believe that it's necessary for me to say, I consider that there's three types of Masons. You have the ritualist, the guy that's just, he knows up and down the work, the esotericist, the guy that, is all about presentations and writing books and stuff, and then the fraternalist. And I think that's where I fell in. The guy that just loves to be out and about, and to me it was just discovering a new lodge, seeing their artifacts, meeting some new guys, talking to them to see, what they do in life, and to realize that we're all in the same place for one common goal, is to better ourselves. To me, that is what filled my void. This is what, to me, is my self-care.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's it's. I guess it kind of goes to that old saying: it's hard to pour from an empty cup, and it sounds like that Masonry fills your cup and
overfilled it. Overfilled it, brother.
Very good. Very good. That's so good to hear.
Let me ask you a lot, but I never heard it applied to Masonry like that. Masonry is our self-care. That's great.
Yeah.
Well, and if I may say, it's because, I say that because it makes me happy. Mm-hmm. And I tell brothers, I said, when I'm out of work, out of school, I don't do anything besides visiting lodges. And people were like, you're probably doing it too much. You should find something else to do. Well, that something else to do to me is doing Masonry. Doing Masonry is to me visiting lodges, going out and about. I hear about the degree, I'll be there. Brothers contact me and say, hey, can you come visit? Yeah, sure, I'll be there. To me, that's self-care.
It is.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Every time I do go witness a degree, I'm always learning something new, and maybe a little nugget gets, oh man, now I'm thinking about that a different way now. And so that's wonderful. What would you say, Brother Khadim, would be the best way? And I've got a follow-up question to that. Obviously, with reports being done and people studying this, social scientists studying this, obviously there's a need for men to create connections what do you think would be the best way to promote that to, say, coworkers or casual friends that or relatives that to be very good? Uh-oh, we lost them.
Uh-oh.
We lost them. So anyway,
the downsides of cell phone technology.
Technology.
On the road, yeah.
Technology. Well, like we said, 30 years ago, who would have thought I would be sitting at my home and you sitting at the lodge and a brother driving in his car and having a conversation like this. What a great
Heading to Texas Grand Lodge, right?
Yeah. What a great brother he is. So we'll give it just a minute to see if he pops back in.
In the meantime, this won't be the last time we'll talk to Brother Khadim. We're going to have him come up soon to a Providence Lodge Festival board, and he's going to he said he's putting together a nice little slideshow of his pictures and everything, some of his travels and stuff.
Oh, very good.
It'll be a little more intimate. He'll be able to tell us some more details about the difference in the ritual and lodge setup, that kind of stuff, and everything.
Yeah,
that's definitely one that we're looking forward to having, or one meeting we're looking forward to when we have him up.
Well, it's a good time to say, brothers, like we've always said in Lodge, I've said it often, we've gotten a lot of good support, encouragement about the podcast. Just briefly, I want to mention again that an audio version of the podcast, which will probably recap this one on the next version we are now on Apple Podcasts and on Spotify. So if you'll search for The Ways of Virtue or search Roland Morales on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, you'll find us there. And at the bottom of the screen, you see we now have an email, thewaysofvirtue@gmail.com. We ask that you send your comments in, your questions into us, and most importantly, send us your suggestions for ideas that we can address on the episodes. So, Chris, wait a minute, was that him? I think he's messaging on Facebook and saying he's got a network problem. So he is driving, so he may have hit a spot where he's lost. We've lost him.
That's okay. It won't be the last time. I'm sure we'll talk to Brother Khadim Lo.
He's back. He's
back. Great.
Sorry, brothers. It's just the network is, I'm going through downtown and pretty.
No apologies needed. Yeah.
Yeah, we understand. We won't keep you too much longer because I know you're going through the Dallas metro area.
No. Did you have any other questions for me?
Yes. I think. So what I was going to ask you is, do you see your entrance into? Oh, I know what I was asking you. How do you think that to relatives or friends or coworkers that we could express that there's something available? There's something available that no matter what the need is, there's a way to fill it in this fraternity. What would you suggest?
So, if I'm understanding the question, you said that what would I tell to friends out there?
Yes.
About to non-Masons, basically, right?
Yeah.
To non-Masons, yes, sir.
So, what I would say is, I think Masonry is an unexplored mind. What I mean by that is, there is so much to Masonry that I think today's society can take advantage of. So let's say, I work. I'm a nurse, so it's a woman-dominated field, and it's one of those things that after a hard day, you go home and you're having a bad day or something, and there's nobody to talk to. Well, if I decide to go to lodge the same night, the guys are there and it's like good energy, good vibes, and everybody's like, hey, it's good to see you, and energy rubs off on you. So I think we have the how the world is set up today, work and everything is hectic and people are so stressed out. I think Masonry brings a great relief in that, in my opinion. It's something wonderful, and it's something that from time immemorial has been just the same. It's been passed down from generation to generation. I mean, can you believe that?
Yeah. There's I can't remember. I read something the other day that it's what we teach and what we offer. It must be true, because if it wasn't true, it would not have lasted these many centuries that it has. So I have a question for both of you, Khadim and Worshipful Chris. And I thought about this as I was reading through some of these reports and things. We're always, and maybe it's just me, it might just be me, that I'm always looking for ways to invite people into Masonry. And should we, and this goes back to that TED Talk I was talking about a while ago. It was all focused on 30 years ago. Are we still doing things like we did 30 years ago, or 40 or 50? Should we be inviting people into the fraternity, or should we be looking for ways for good men to invite us into their lives, and then they can experience and be open to what Masonry has to offer them? Brother Khadim, what do you think?
I think, of course, that we cannot recruit, but I think inviting is definitely something that can be seen. I said that to say you can, while you're having conversation with a friend, you're like, hey, man, we're having a dinner. Why don't you join us?
Yes.
Or just talk about the good demeanor of the men that you hang out with. Say, oh man, I had a good time last night at lodge. We're cracking jokes and everything, and I think that is what would attract someone to come check out the lodge. Our good behaviors is that I would hope that someone sees me as like, hey, he's always smiling, he's respectful, he works hard and stuff like that. Well, I learned that at the lodge. So how about you come check out if you want to be like me? You know what I mean? So
yeah. Chris, your thoughts?
No, I agree with that 100%. The fraternalism, I think, is probably our best foot that we could put forward in the public before we even get to any of the esotericism or anything like that. Fraternalism.
Yeah. I'm gonna mention my wonderful wife, Jennifer, and I love her so much. She supports me. Brother Chris, you know how supportive Jennifer is, just like your Jennifer is to you. And I'm always thinking about this, Brother Khadim, always thinking about these issues, and like you both said, being good, being and having people know that you're a good person. And I just point blank asked her one night, am I a good person? And she said yes. And she goes, well, do you think other people think I'm a good person? And she said, well, of course I think they do. And I thought, why do you think nobody asks, hey, you're a really good guy? Well, I mean, what do you do? What is it in your life that, I see you as a good person? And so that goes to the question I was asking, that today's world, we're so busy. There's so much information flowing at us. And I do think that, we need to provide ways, dinners, like Brother Khadim said, and other things that, don't necessarily need to be focused on Masonry, so that people open themselves up to us. Then we can start having those conversations about, this is how I've become this kind of person. This is the journey that led me to where I am now, and I'm still on it. And so, I think it's a big, we have a hurdle, but we have good brothers like you, Brother Khadim, and Worshipful Chris, and so many other brothers And like we've said, Chris, many, many times, there may be a decline in membership, but doesn't mean that there's a decline in Masonry. And Brother Khadim, you just proved that. You proved that to us, the things that you're involved in and your attitude and what you are involved in. Brother Chris, can you think of anything else? Any other questions?
Not particularly right now. Like I said, we're just excited. We're going to have Brother Khadim come up and visit us, and we're really excited to get a little more in depth, some pictures and stuff. It's going to be awesome. We're looking forward to that, Khadim.
Absolutely. I am. I'm grateful. This is my first podcast I'm invited to. I mean, that is one thing you join Mason and you learn about this podcast, and you're like, man, I wish I could just come and say something. And I love conversation, and I need to go subscribe. You have a Spotify page, correct?
Yes, we do. Spotify, correct. Yes.
Okay.
Yes,
I'm going to go subscribe to that. It's while you drive, you put on a podcast and listen to to one of your favorite brothers that's talking out there, and I'm grateful to be able to put forth the Fraternalist, that I think was long time neglected from Masonry. I think it's time to people to go back to traveling as well.
I like that. I do. I like that. The ritualist, the fraternalist. I can't remember what the third one was.
The esotericist, the guy that makes all the presentation and writes book and all that stuff.
Yeah. Okay.
It's like writing papers.
I've got to write that down. But the fraternalist is who I am. Go out there and smile and talk to people and just be outgoing. Yeah. I agree. I cannot wait to meet you in person. Brother Khadim, do you have any other thoughts that you'd like to leave us with today?
I have a lot of thoughts, but I'll just keep it to a minimum. We live in a wonderful world, and I recently went to a festive board, and Brother Grant Corbell from Plano Lodge, he was talking about the fact that like service organizations were just losing the face. Because, yes, there's social media and everything to compete, but I think that there's one thing that, Masonry can brag about is to have authentic relationship, to bring an authentic relationship amongst good men. And I think it's now more than ever, we need to push that forward. We need to show the world that, Square Compass doesn't mean Illuminati. It means you're here with good men. We're here to, when life knocks you down, someone is going to be here to pick you up, and that's going to be a brother. And I think that's what I'm going to say in closing. I love Masonry.
Here.
Yep, we love it too. So yes, a closing motto: authentic friendships through fraternal relations. What an amazing thought that is, Brother Khadim. Thank you so much. We hope you make it to the Grand Lodge session safe. And we look forward to welcoming you up here at Providence Lodge. I can't wait to meet you in person. Worshipful Chris, any other parting thoughts from you?
No, thank you again. Loving it. Great conversation.
Okay, yes, great conversation. Well, brothers, thank you. Again, if just promote the podcast on Apple Podcasts, The Ways of Virtue, and on Spotify. And again, our email is at the bottom of the page, thewaysofvirtue@gmail.com. We welcome your comments, questions, and again, most of all, your suggestions for our show. Until then, may the God of love and peace delight to dwell with and bless you. Bye, brothers.